transferring power from Washington, D.C., and giving it back to you, the people. Americanism, not globalism, will be our credo.
This is the heart of 1776.
Yes, I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
Huge nationwide protests erupted once again on President Donald Trump's second weekend in office.
When you open your heart to patriotism, there is no room for prejudice. When America is united, America is totally unstoppable.
Donald J. Trump is now President of the United States.
And most importantly, we will be protected by God.
From the front lines of the info war, it's Alex Jones.
You voted Trump! You voted Trump!
Oh my goodness, poor white people. Please, stop.
Dude, America kicked Hillary's ass and the Democrats, not the damn Russians. Can you give me some credit here? We're the big swing in Johnson, bro, not the Russians. Get that through your head. We're back. You understand?
Microaggression, cultural appropriation, offensive.
My millennials, stay woke.
In ancient times, man roamed the earth in a constant state of hunting or being hunted. Introducing Caveman, where cutting-edge science meets ancient super nutrients. Secure your bottle right now at InfoWarsStore.com.
Americanism, not globalism, will be our credo. Americanism, not globalism. Americanism, not globalism. The era of economic surrender will finally be over. We will no longer surrender this country or its people to the false song of globalism.
They have gotten the political establishment and the media establishment to become pure, wanton henchmen of totalitarianism.
If you were a foreign power looking to weaken America, you couldn't do better than Hillary Clinton's economic agenda.
I think what the Chinese have done is really smart.
The skyscrapers went up in Beijing and many other cities around the world, while the factories and neighborhoods crumbled right here in Detroit.
It's all training us to accept less, lowering expectations, a post-industrial world, a new dark age. That's what the UN Biological Diversity Assessment 1996 calls for.
When we abandoned the policy of America first, we started rebuilding other countries instead of our own.
Not a world, Winston, that gets more beautiful and more technological and stronger. A world that gets uglier and stupider and more stunted.
That the government should allow Hillary Clinton to become president of the United States.
I voted for Hillary Clinton.
Well, I voted for Hillary. I guess I have to since I'm working for her as well.
You want an image of the future, Winston? It's a boot stomping on a human face forever.
Muslims are peaceful and tolerant people and have nothing whatsoever to do with terrorism.
Women are discriminated against in all of these countries she took money against. Gays and lesbians are either executed or punished severely. They're mistreated. She claims to be their champion.
Don't look at me, Winston, and see the black circles around my eyes and see how ugly and weak I am, expressing myself and dying that I torture people 18 hours a day, that I have a horrible life. That's the beauty of the satanic evil of the priest of power ripping apart humanity. We're here to hurt humans. We're here to suck your guts out.
We now take you live to the Central Texas Command Center and the heart of the resistance.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're live on this Saturday afternoon, almost 4 o'clock Central. We're live, broadcasting worldwide. I am your host, Alex Jones, coming to you with breaking news and information. Now, I am supporting Trump because he's getting our economy turned back on and is an American president and is returning power back to Washington from unelected globalist combines. That does not mean I agree with a lot of what Trump's doing. If we had a liberal Democrat that was a real president and a nationalist and was returning power back to Congress from the IMF, the World Bank, the TPP, the UN, the WTO, I would back them, even if they were wrong on almost every issue. Now, with Trump, he's not as bad as that. He's more of a populist, very liberal in many ways. But I've seen a drumbeat the last few days all over mainstream news that Donald Trump is insane because from afar, they say he's a narcissist and a chauvinist. So I didn't know that a man believing in a man being powerful and strong was a mental illness. But under their mental illness criteria, it's now thousands of pages long, they've added over 100 new mental illnesses in just the last decade. In fact, if you oppose big, out-of-control government, well, you've got a opposition to authority mental illness. Now, psychiatry and psychology is about 200 years old. It was started in Germany, in Prussia, and then in London, England, openly to control populations. Hitler used it in the first groups that he killed. They would have a psychiatrist say that the child was mentally ill or had a problem. They would just give them a lethal injection. And the parents would be told they died of some natural causes. That's all public. That's all known. The Prussians were the German war state, the Austrian-Hungarian Empire. And they wanted mind-control soldiers. The Hessian soldiers we fought in 1776 were born as slaves, feudal slaves, but wore nice, fancy Hessian boots and blue uniforms. And they were very, very proud to be war soldiers and to be owned by the state and to fight to the death. Esprit de corps, or the arrogance of their position, even as slaves, made them ready to fight to the death. So modern psychology comes from that priesthood. Now, I'm not saying there isn't some reality to psychiatry and psychology. Some of their research, some of the things they've discovered, some of the things they say about different types of people and different syndromes are real. But it's their approximation of human activity and their view, their cosmology, their breakdown of it. They don't predate the planet or the sun or the stars or the eons of human existence before. This is another thought system, like a language or a religion. It's a priesthood. Sigmund Freud was obsessed with poo-poo and holding his crap in and smoking cigars as phallic symbols. I like cigars because of the way they tasted and the fact that they got me high as a kite and tasted good with, whiskey. Not because they look like a weenie. And what I'm getting at there is you've got all these schools of thought in psychology, in psychiatry, so it's not a monolithic thing. Carl Jung, I've read probably 4 or 5 of his books, found them deeply revealing, resonated with my own personal childhood experiences of ritual. I believe in Carl Jung because I read his books when I was a teenager and then in college, and they resonated with my own personal experiences. I knew they were truth because I experienced it. So I believe psychology and psychiatry, though created for control in Germany and England by 2 different empires, the British and the Austrian-Hungarian, though it's had abuses and done a lot of bad things, there's a lot of great thought in it and a lot of really powerful information. But it's been used by the Soviet and by the communist Chinese and by others on record to oppress and kill. They say you're mentally ill, enemy of the state if you're a Buddhist, a 3,000-year-old peaceful religion, or 2,400 or whatever it is, from India. When I've read Buddhism, and I mean, it's got a lot of really good tenets, and it's really a reasonable world system. You can say it's not even a religion. And they take you and they execute you and take your organs. That's not good. And China uses state psychiatrists to make those certifications. So no one debates the political use of psychiatry by authoritarian regimes, the Nazis, the Austrian-Hungarian Empire, before that, the Weimar Republic, the British Empire. They had a guy that invented lobotomies, would drive around and fix, troublemaking, mentally ill people that jumped around and fought back. He'd stick an ice pick in and gouge out the frontal lobe of the brain. Let me tell you, there was never any trouble from them again because they were in diapers. So like anything, like guns, they can be used for good or bad. the system of psychology, psychiatry. There's a lot of stuff in there that really is true, but it's already research and things people done before put into a grid that is psychology or psychiatry. That's what's happening. Now, that said, the Republicans, here's the Daily Mail, it's also up on Infowars.com right now. Republicans hit out an unethical psychiatrist who claimed Donald Trump's a dangerous mental illness. Now, did they say he was a paranoid schizophrenic? Did they say he was a psychotic? No, they said he's a narcissist who's also a chauvinist. I didn't even know. I looked up. Chauvinism's not even a mental illness. I guess they're going to make that. So this big psychiatric meeting at Yale University, where Skull and Bones is based, by the way, I should add. That was another German, Prussian. Nothing against Germans. I'm part German, but there was another order. And they come in and say they can see from a distance that he's narcissistic and displays antisocial narcissism and chauvinistic tendencies. They believe are grounds for impeachment. So the priesthood says our vote doesn't count. I have sat there when I was interviewed by Psychology Today, and the guy had worked for the Clintons previously, and he said, you believe you're great. You believe you're reaching a lot of people. That's grounds for narcissism. And I said, so I looked up narcissism and I went, so I'm on the phone with the guy for like 2 hours. I go, says, don't care about others. Don't give good tips. Don't care about your kids. What? I would sell out the system if I was a narcissist. That's Bill O'Reilly. I was offered $3 million, then $10 million over to 18 years ago, and then like 16 years ago to sell out. Back when I was making a fraction of that a year, because I believe in what I was doing. So they say anybody who's upwardly mobile, anybody who's strong, anybody who's honorable, anybody that believes they've got vision, anybody who believes they want to change the world, that's narcissism and a mental illness. So Trump has made hundreds of billions of dollars for his companies, 15 plus billion for himself, billions for his family. He's the #1 TV host with the highest ratings in modern history, probably in history. He's now, against all odds, the 45th president of the United States. Regardless of what you think of him, that's the crazy thing. You're a narcissist if you believe you're going to be a best-selling novelist. And then if you become the best-selling novelist, you're a narcissist. But I look at narcissism, going back to the Greek guy looking in the water and loves himself so much he falls in. I don't even worry about how I dress, my hair falling out. I don't care. I give huge tips. I care about people. I have great empathy. I'm on a mission. I'm mission-driven. I have a purpose-driven life. That's a whole other view of psychology, which I think is more accurate. But see, anybody that wants to be somebody, unless you're the psychologist saying you're mentally ill, the high priest, well, you don't exist. So I have an extreme, selfishness and a grandiose view. Well, I'm not selfish. I don't have a grandiose view of myself. I think a grandiose view of humanity. Bill Joy, as I said 17 years ago, went to a meeting of top billionaires, and they decided at the meeting the future didn't need humanity. We were obsolete and that we should be scrapped and done away with. Why the future doesn't need us was the article. That sounds pretty narcissist of the elites deciding we're all just going to be phased out and killed. Now you see it all basically being set up and happening. So the real narcissists are the globalists that believe all humans are bad but them. They've got to get rid of everybody so they're saving the earth. That's beyond narcissism. That's a psychotic, power-driven megalomania where you combine being psychotic, totally delusional, a megalomaniac. I mean, yeah, people are megalomaniacs. They are psychotic. Ted Turner, Bill Clinton, George Soros, Nazi collaborator. He said in newspapers, I believe I'm the Messiah. I am the Christ. I am the God. But you've got to look out. They want to lock you up for that. I don't believe I'm the God. I believe I have a lot of pathetic traits and I'm weak, but my vision and the goal and the beauty I can recognize in the world, in a sunset, or my children, believing in the sunset, in my children, in the future, and in humanity. I believe humanity is already a God compared to what we were 1,000 years ago technologically. And if we can do that spiritually, then the eye is not seen, the ear is not hear. The communion we can have with God as we lift through the levels in development towards that higher purpose. I see beautiful forest, beautiful parrots flying around, beautiful fish in a pool. I see a sunset. I see a beautiful woman. I see an athletic man. I see happy children. I see the greatness I want, and I just care about people, but the priesthood says, no, you don't. You're a narcissist. You don't have radio listeners. You haven't changed the world. You haven't exposed globalism. Globalism isn't in deep crisis. No, you don't exist. You're a machine. You have no free will. We're telling you that because we want to steal your free will and convince you like Faust. He thought he'd sold his soul. You couldn't sell your soul. You own your soul. It's yours, your passion. You could change your mind any minute, but he believed that he had sold his soul to the devil in the archetype for earthly power, and the devil convinced him till the end, and he died believing the soul belonged to the devil and darkness, so his soul did go to that because he decided that's where his soul decided to be. Didn't read that in books. That's the archetypal truth, the greatness of all our ancestors, their compressed knowledge. The Hindus and the Buddhists are wrong about reincarnation, in my view. You're not the same person over and over again, reincarnated in a body. You're the experience of all the genetic past of your ancestors, compressed, passed on, but only unlocked by experience and by research and by ritual and by focus. That's what instinct is. It's proven. It's beyond instinct. It's memory. Just like they want to get rid of our memory currently in this time-space continuum and make us have short attention spans, they want us to get rid of the racial, cultural memory of the great saga of humanity. That sounds pretty fantastical. You're a narcissist. I'm sitting on a planet 2/3 of the way out on the spiral arm of the Milky Way galaxy looking into eternity. And all I've got is the knowledge of my family and this planet and where we are and everything I know from them, passed on from my ancestors, whether it was 50 million years ago or 10,000 years ago, whatever your cosmology is. Every man, every woman came together, created someone who nurtured someone else and passed on. And like electricity through a power line, I am connected to my most ancient ancestors, whether we were developed here or elsewhere. And everybody knows those memories. And wasn't here, folks. And that's why you see all these big things in other worlds and ships and technology. And it's like, I've seen that before. I know that because you are that. You're awesome. And here's this priesthood that's decided to suppress that. They know what they're into. They know what's going on. So you don't get the deep knowledge, so they can kind of haul you off. Here's some football. Here's some drugs. Lower your consciousness. Lower your brainwaves. While they are like, whoa, look at what we already built. The genetic engineering, the GMO, the technology, the mathematics, the quantum computing. They're like, yeah, you worry about Kim Kardashian. Just drink the chemicals. God, hurry up and die. And then here comes Trump, who wants an age of man. I've been asked by the media, are you a sexist saying the age of man? The age of humankind. But I say the age of man to be sarcastic and make them mad. Bill Joy and all the globalists say the decision was made 20 years ago to kill you and your family. The decision was made to kill you culturally so you'd be an animal so they wouldn't commit a spiritual crime when you were finally euthanized with chemicals and cancer viruses. They tell you you're an animal, dumb and ugly, and should die and are bad for the earth, so you psychically accept it so you get out of their way first. They're saying, get out the way, get out the way, move, get out the way. Future's ours. Roll over and die. Do as you're told. The day of doom is here. You're saying no. They don't like that. They don't want you to have the future. They want to steal your future. That's their fundamental crime. It's selfish Satanism writ large by the technocrats. So, Trump isn't perfect by any means. God, Sessions wants to go after Julian Assange that got him elected. Total betrayal. Bad on the Syria deal. North Korea's threatening to nuke everybody. I get Trump's finally standing up, but still it's out. It's crazy. But good on the borders, good on sovereignty, good on cutting taxes, good on saying we're our own country. That's a fundamental big change. But imagine this priesthood, 200 years old, getting up and saying, we have decided anybody successful but us is a narcissist. And if you're a man that's powerful, you're a chauvinist. So men should be weak. That's just saying the whole species should be weak, like women should be weak. turning men and women against each other, total class envy, making success a bad thing, something you should be ashamed of. 25 researchers, who all met before and agreed, of course, made a drastic breakaway from the ethical standards by meeting at Yale University on Thursday to discuss evidence questioning the commander-in-chief's mental health. Because he doesn't care what they say, he doesn't care about the polls, he doesn't care about Bull, he believes in what he's doing. Some of it I believe is wrong. But nevertheless, that's why they're so pissed. They don't control him. They were unanimous in their conclusion that the president suffers a combination of personality disorders, which they, the priesthood, are adding new ones every few weeks. The psychiatrist defended the move. Let's get Steve Pieczenik on tomorrow if we can. I'm going to play this on the radio show tomorrow and have him on. The psychiatrist defended the move by stating it was either ethical responsibility to warn the American public about the dangers Trump poses to the country. Speaking of the Daily Mail Online, they insisted the president's display of antisocial, narcissistic, chauvinistic tendencies that they believed are grounds for impeachment. Well, thank God you're there. No judge, no jury. Thank God we've got the German brainwashing soldier program called psychiatry to tell us how to operate. You were one of the cartoons and stuff, like the psychiatrist is always a German. Oh, look, you teach them now. Eh? It will be quite easy to do it. We will make the population submit to you, mein Führer. Just telling you where it's coming from. The Republicans have come out and just said this is totally unethical, totally insane. You know what's insane? Look at these articles, and I'm going to end this transmission. See, this is why they're doing it. CFR, this is Infowars.com. Trump sabotaging globalist world order. They go on to say, democratic forces coalescing under nationalism are ending our system. Yes, your unelected worldwide system of planetary government that you've created. That Donald Trump is a hostile takeover. These are quotes. Power. He's a hostile revisionist power at the heart of the free world dedicated to the overturn of the U.S.-led liberal order. That's the U.S. unelected world government the U.S. muscles for, according to Foreign Affairs. And it goes on to say their unelected EU planetary system is in crisis and they're panicking. And then you see all the other articles that break it down. This is the mind control. Look at this. Press rage over president's preempting French authorities with accurate observation. Media meltdown over Trump's correctly calling Paris attack terror. Allah Akbar, shooting police, killing people 2 days ago. That's not Islamic. AP, Reuters, USA Today, they all said it's horrible. Muslim avoids jail for anally raping teen because he couldn't understand no. That's part of the culture. Infowars.com. Links to mainstream news articles that break it down. AP changes Fresno shooter's words from Allah Akbar, removes Islam reference. Daily Caller. Can't even say as they scream Allah Akbar and shoot people. 238 murdered in France by jihadists in the last 2 years. There have been 21 Islamic attacks in France, but they will not call them Islamic attacks even as they happen. All right, I'm out of time. I'm going to spend some time, needed time with my family, let Travis get to a party he's going to and do back to his children. But I'm up here on the weekend with the air conditioners turned off. It's already hot here in Texas. Getting this out to you because wild horses couldn't drag me away from the truth. Are MSM people obsessed with themselves and some image of themselves? I would call narcissism, in my own research, make-believe. This is going to be heavy, so listen carefully, and I'm closing. I remember being 3 or 4 years old. I've told this story many times. When my late friend, Ryan Baxter, in Dallas, Texas, he died of a hospital infection at 33. I was there when he died. He'd come across the street, and we'd put bath towels on in our shirts over our backs. And we played Batman and Robin and Superman and stuff like that. And I remember when I was about 3.5 years old, I said, Ryan, I don't want to play this anymore. We're not really Batman and Robin. I remember his clear eyes looking at me. And I went, oh, yeah. But that's not any fun. Now, children do make-believe role-playing because they usually would see in their village or whatever things adults were doing, shoeing horses, cutting grain, fighting, whatever. I think, let me copy. That's why we're designed to role-play, learn how to do things. But they give us fantasy. They give us entertainment. They give us all this other stuff, so we then role play off things that don't exist. So they teach you how to be more mentally ill, and it creates more and more mental illness that didn't exist before. We're being trained to do this. So they say thinking you're successful, thinking you have prowess, thinking you have any confidence is insane. They don't want you to have any confidence. So they want to say confident people have a mental illness. But then other people, I wouldn't call it narcissism. I'd call it being posers or make-believe. They love to always dress up. They love to go to award shows. They love to give themselves awards. They love to believe they're super powerful. They get all delusional and get off on it. Like in Vanity Fair prima donna, they imagine they've got a successful rock band. They want to go to a movie theater and have a party where people come in and take photos of them as they enter, like they've got paparazzi. So I get it. Most people that are in media do it because they are make-believe, wannabe stars. And like Edward Bernays said in the 20s, we'll merge Hollywood and politics and make everybody stars, and everybody else that isn't a star and is low level. I'm not involved in media to be a star. I'm involved to change the world for the future of humanity. So I get why the narcissists, psychologists, and psychiatrists who want to be the bosses and the superstars who control everyone and save everyone, typecasting themselves as the heroes. I can see why they want to typecast themselves as the heroes, and they do, like Al Gore saving the earth from carbon by paying him carbon taxes. So they script themselves as the heroes, they put it all out, and they say everybody else who wants to be famous wants to be a hero and believes they're invincible and is in love with themselves and is selfish, because that's who psychiatry and modern psychology and modern media and Bill O'Reilly and the liberals and Nancy Pelosi and the Republicans and all the other people like Paul Ryan are. They're the fake, false people thinking those of us trying to change the world for the good, they think we're saps and dumbasses and chumps or narcissists like them. So yeah, there's crazy people obsessed with themselves and into these big views of themselves for themselves. They're in love with themselves. At least they're in love with some facet of humanity. Then that become corrupt. But there's those of us that really believe in humanity and have this connection to our ancestors that Carl Jung talked about that's so real, and people that are cut off from their ancestors don't know, and they think we're like them, so they have the limited worldview and system with blinders that anybody that's successful must be a narcissist. Well, if that's the case, thank God that we built rockets and space shuttles and computers and better, horse buggies and better languages and better medicines for narcissism. I thought it was because we didn't want our kids to die of infections. I thought it was because we had a vision of our greater selves and what we could build. But you, the priesthood, that now says we can't have a president that wants to make our country great again, you're there saying it's all BS. Oh, and I'm dysregulating. I'm not supposed to get excited about anything. I'm supposed to be dead. I sleep, you live. But it's not dysregulation because I'm in control of it. And I'm here to illustrate it to get people out of their coma, out of their control, out of their malaise, out of their lower brain waves that medically they admit people are in. I'm a throwback. My brain waves are high. My testosterone's high. I love life. I'm not a victim. I'm empowered. I'm a trailblazer. I'm a leader. I'm a conqueror of tyrants, an empowerer of humans. And my name means Alexander, defender of men, and I'm living what my name means. Not because I'm on some power trip, but because I believe in you. And I knew you'd turn the tide against globalism, and it's happening, and the elites are panicking and trying to say success is mental illness. The highest level of suicide is in psychiatry. That's because most of them are searching for themselves, because through abuse or whatever type of genetic mutations, they're not in contact with their ancestors. Let's pray that they read Carl Jung and get in contact with their ancestors. Because I've read his books, and now that I know more about it, I've far surpassed in my own research. And I'll say there's a power trip. We're 100 years later. We better have surpassed. Imagine if Carl Jung was a young man today, he'd know 10 times what I know. A true trailblazer. But thanks to people like him, we know a lot more. Infowars.com/show. Infowars.com/show. Spread that link. They're trying to censor us more than ever. And from the bottom of my heart, from every cell in my body, and in the soul and my guts and my heart and my mind, I love you. We're going to defeat these tyrants, and humanity's going to make it to the stars together. Infowars.com/show. Back tomorrow live, 4 to 6 p.m. Central, at Infowars.com/show.
You've heard of Edward Bernays as the father of propaganda, right? But do you know who the grandfather of propaganda is? His name was George Creel, and he was the chairman of, wait for it, the Committee on Public Information. That's right, the CPI was established by President Woodrow Wilson by Executive Order 2594 on April 13th, 1917, just over 100 years ago. The purpose of the CPI was to influence American public opinion towards supporting U.S. participation in World War I via a prolonged propaganda effort. The committee used newsprint, posters, radio, telegraph, cable, and movies to broadcast its message. Michael Sweeney, who wrote the book Secrets of Victory, said every war story had been censored somewhere along the line, at the source, in transit, or in the newspaper offices, in accordance with voluntary rules established by the CPI. And who do you think worked at the Committee of Public Information? None other than Edwin Bernays, who directed the Latin news service. The CPI was disbanded by an act of Congress on June 30th, 1919. We now know them as CNN, MSNBC, Fox, ABC, and CBS. Rob Dew reporting for Infowars.com.
My fellow Info Warriors, I am very excited to be able to announce to you the introduction at InfoWarsLife.com of a new way to save time and money when you stock up on InfoWars Life formulations like Survival Shield X2 and Super Male Vitality. Just go to InfoWarsLife.com today, select your favorite product, click on Auto Ship before adding to cart, and choose how often you want us to send you another order. Every time you choose Auto Ship at InfoWarsLife.com, you get 10% off, and you won't have to worry about running out and having to reorder next time. And of course, you can cancel with one click anytime. As you know, I'm all about the idea of a 360 win, and the new auto ship feature at InfoWarsLife.com is a sure win for everybody. A win for liberty, a win for health, and a win when it comes to big savings. Visit InfoWarsLife.com today and save 10% on your next InfoWars Life order by selecting auto ship at checkout. That's InfoWarsLife.com or call 888-253-3139.